Joel Beinin is the Donald J. McLaughlin Emeritus Professor of Middle East History at Stanford University. Joins me now from Portland, Oregon. Good to have you on the show. I want to ask you, as long as the prime narrative around these events is that Israel has the right to defend itself, how likely is it that we're going to see any concrete steps in terms of ending the violence? I mean, isn't this just sort of a tacit approval of what Netanyahu is saying, that they'll continue until their security is ensured?
Thanks very much for having me, first of all. And secondly, yes, you're more or less right about that, although it's worth noting that there has begun a very significant shift in the discourse in the United States. Not significant enough to rein Israel in yet, but for example, Senator Bob Menendez, who is one of Israel's most outspoken and uncritical supporters in the Senate, and also the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, expressed his deep concern over the bombing of the building with the AP and Al Jazeera offices, and over Israel's bombing of civilians in the Gaza Strip. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib gave a brilliant speech to the House of Representatives in which she very articulately and effectively expressed the Palestinian point of view that has never happened before. She was supported by the members of the Squad, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, and several other progressive congresspeople. So a shift has begun. It won't be enough to make a difference this time, probably.
What do you make of the Israeli army targeting media offices in the Gaza Strip? I mean, this is something that, we've heard from Jamal that this is not quite uncommon for the Israelis to do everything they can to silence the media, but this is very unprecedented, I would think.
I'm not sure that it is unprecedented. I think it happened also in 2014, perhaps not as brazenly. But what is happening now altogether is an expression of the fact that during the Trump administration years, Israel had a totally green light to do whatever it wanted, and it did. They know that President Biden, first of all, relatively recently came into office. His agenda is primarily domestic issues. He really would rather that he didn't have to deal with Israel-Palestine at all. He doesn't have a political vocabulary for dealing with what's going on, and whatever he did that would be any different than simply repeating the standard talking points would cost him political capital and endanger his domestic agenda. Benjamin Netanyahu is a very, very astute observer of American politics and knows all of this, and he is playing it to the hilt, murderously.
Let me go back to American politics. I mean, you mentioned sort of the change in narrative, the shift in the narrative in Capitol Hill, but when it comes to the White House, still pretty much the president sticking to its guns.
Yes, the White House is pretty much, except for the expression of concern about the safety of journalists, saying what it said in 2014 and in 2012 and in 2008-9, the previous occasions when Israel has assaulted the Gaza Strip. At the very, very top of the American political establishment, there has not yet been a change. That's actually not all that unusual. Change always begins at the bottom. There were dozens of demonstrations today because it's May 15th, Nakba Day, throughout the United States. I myself recently returned from one in Portland. There were 700 people there. That's not a huge number, but Portland isn't a very big city either. It was a very impressive demonstration with lots of support from all sectors of the community. So a change is underway. Many, many Palestinians, unfortunately, will die before it takes effect and has an impact on American policy.
All right, Joel Biden, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your analysis. Thank you.